So let me tell you something. If you are a hostage, and hopefully you never will be, don't try to jump on your cell phone to call the police. Don't try to get on your cell phone to call someone and tell them that you love them. You should have taken care of that before you left your house. Put your nose into the ground and do what they say. 9 times out of 10, especially if it's like a bank robbery, a jewelry robbery, they're just there for the property. That's all they want. Don't try to play hero because you could be a dead hero. So we just cooperate 110%. When there's multiple people to be rescued, there's not a lot of thought that goes into it. You just rescue who you can. It's quick second assessments that are happening. When it happens, when you're in the actual fight, and this is, I'll paint you a different picture, but when you're in actual fight, you're not thinking about what the aftermath of that's gonna look like. When things are all settled and it's all done, and now you're alone, that's when this replays back in your mind. Could you have done more? Should you have done more? Could you have saved that other person? Whenever I'm on duty and I'm with my officers and we're actually chasing somebody, in the back of my mind, it plays saying, this could be it. This could be the one. I may not be going home tonight. That's always in the back of anybody who's in public safety that deals with trying to rescue people like this. So it's only been about 4 or 5 years where we finally had our first hostage rescue. There's a lot going on with it, especially that the hostage was an 8-year-old little boy. Oh, we rescued him. That also led to my first police shooting as well. So trauma on trauma.
That would be a little nerve-wracking right there. Yeah, I'm not feeling really comfortable about 4 on 2 right now. Those are all threats, man. Someone could come down and pull a gun out faster than you would be able to realize what was happening. And now you still have 3 guys still spread out in a room. Remember, you really only could focus on maybe 1 to 2 people at that time.
And because of my resources, I had to decide who was going to get those resources. Who was going to get the air ambulance to the trauma center? Who was going to go to the local hospital? Which ones we weren't even going to look at because we had these people here. When you're in the middle of all that, you just do your job. But it's after, when you're home alone and there's no stimulus to keep your mind from starting to think about those things, that's when you start thinking about those people that you couldn't save and you wonder, could I have saved more? I've had a couple of colleagues that actually committed suicide, and on their suicide notes they said they could not deal with the screaming anymore. 2 of them put that, could not deal with the screaming anymore. We responded to a smash and grab jewelry heist, and it ended up in the fastest high-speed pursuit I've ever been in. We were traveling in excess speeds of 110 miles an hour, and I remember in the back of my mind thinking, one wrong move and my partner and I are dead. As well as when I was a detective, yes, I got to work with different states as well as different countries, especially regarding missing persons or loss of money. You know, we have those various different types of investigations. So yes, I've actually had a very fortunate experience and to be able to work with not just federal agencies, but agencies outside of the United States.
A realistic police pursuit, we'd be calling it out. You're going to be notifying patrol services that you are in pursuit, obviously requesting additional support, or maybe even Aero Bureau to get on top of this. But given to the amount of destruction that this guy is doing in the city, most sergeants or watch commanders are probably going to cancel this pursuit unless you can tell us why we need to keep pursuing this person. God, man, I love this technology. We have none of this.
Your scanner's connected to every local and federal database.
Sure it is. Those databases do not exist. It takes us 6 to 7 months to process DNA. This game takes place on a very large metropolitan city. Metropolitan cities do have a lot more resources than their smaller counterparts. So there are some technologies that definitely I could be unaware of, but this is probably not on the level of any police agency.
So here's the funny part. We see police officers are on scene. Who do they help? Do they help Spider-Man that they know is a good vigilante? Or do they try to just take everybody into custody? Technically, a vigilante is breaking the law. They're taking the law into their own hands. So it'd be a little interesting to see, you know, if this was real, what a police officer would really do. I would tend to believe that we probably would go after the person who we know is bad, despite the fact that Spider-Man technically is a vigilante who should not be doing this stuff.
Uh-oh, the cops are here. Gotta love the graphics of this game.
Get out here!
Now what's going to be interesting to see is the police reaction to this. Yeah, I guess they finally took that away from us where we could hold someone by gunpoint and demand everyone to come out. You have to be stealth when it comes to, oh yeah, there we go. There would be an unauthorized use of force right there. Stealth would be good like if you're watching some stuff to take some pictures and stuff like that, but I just don't see this kind of playing out. As well as, I'll be honest, I'm kind of having a tough time with this use of force here because these are suspects that haven't posed any force towards you as an officer. We just don't willy-nilly be able to go walk around and, hey, I'm gonna co-cock you and knock you out so I can get to the main door. If you look at law enforcement and you look at the average police officer, many of us leave the job broken. I have tinnitus in my left ear. I have a torn shoulder muscle. I have a 3mm slip disc in my 3/4 spine, as well as I have a torn meniscus in my right knee.
In this particular scene, as a detective, the first thing is that the killer has no remorse. The killer was not trying to hide the victim. Sometimes when suspects have remorse, they'll cover the victim's face because they don't want the victim to look at them. They'll hide the body because they don't want to be discovered. This is showing that there is little to no remorse.
Entering battery because he's punching and kicking the bad guys. That is a battery regardless of who's doing it. It could become technically assault with a deadly weapon if he's grabbing with his web something that's metal, wood, and smashing up against the suspects. That would be assault with a deadly weapon now. But those are about the only two things I'm seeing as far as breaking the law right now. I don't think there's any laws out there for using webs. See, now that would be assault with a deadly weapon right there. He grabbed a barrel and used it.
See, if I was a law enforcement officer at this point in time, thinking that these guys are going to have to get away because we already got them pinned down, probably just shoot their horses. I know right now Pete is probably saying, what the heck did you just say?
So I'm going to assume that he's hacking into the police scanners or his police radio. I know various different departments here just in Southern California that have been hacked. The one thing that happened when they hacked to various different resources, what hackers don't realize is they're not really damaging the police department. We're gonna muddle our way through it. But what ends up happening is when 911 goes down, that means all of those people who are trying to call in an emergency call are not able to. It could be someone who is trying to report a rape, domestic violence, a kidnapping, a robbery in progress, and we just don't know that's happening because some hacker has brought down our system. So it's very unfortunate to see that they're willing to let people die or get severely injured just to be able to get whatever they're gonna get, that ransomware that they're gonna get.
Hopefully through intelligence, we're gonna know what we have inside, but we just don't randomly throw flashbangs into rooms because a flashbang could hurt someone and we don't wanna hurt any innocents inside of a room. A flashbang could be detrimental to a young kid, someone who's elderly, so we just don't randomly just throw flashbangs or gas into rooms.
I know this is kind of like fun gameplay, but the one thing I would talk about right here is Spider-Man had them face him with the window and they started shooting outside the window. Those bullets could have potentially hurt someone behind them, what we call the backdrop. So there could have been innocent people, bystanders just walking around that backdrop. It has to be taken into account.
It's funny, is I actually had people act normal. There are YouTube videos out there where you watch a pursuit and when the suspect bails out, he or she runs into a crowd of people and they just start acting normal. That's one of the best tactics ever. I'm sure, right, again, a bunch of cops are saying, why are you telling them this stuff? Hey, cops that are watching this, everything we do, it can be found on YouTube. So what's funny from this look is we're not too far off from this look yet, being outfitted like this. Cars, maybe a little while before we get armored around our tires.
I live in a world where I actually see this and see the dark side of humanity. I remember one day I was on an investigation. I told someone that they could walk over and take a look at a certain part of the crime scene, and they went like, why would I do that? And I thought to myself, oh my God, you're normal. And it was one of those things where I realized I was abnormal.
Weeks of doubting yourself. Sometimes you go through months doubting yourself. And then unfortunately, every now and then when you're sleeping, you'll have that recurring nightmare of that actual incident. Some people leave this job very, very sick because they let it all get to them, while others commit suicide. As a matter of fact, last year alone, more officers committed suicide than being killed in the line of duty. I have had bodies that are 2-3 weeks old. That is no way it looks like that. There would be so many maggots already, as well as probably about 4 feet. There would be a 4 to 5 feet circle around this guy. That would be all of his fluids that eventually would have just left his body after that time.
Contrary to popular belief of developers when they make games like this, like SWAT 4, Ready or Not, I don't know of how many teams actually have a lock picker on the team. In my experience, I just found it takes too long to get through a lock. Hence the reason why we take in breaching tools. We got, rams, we got picks, all those various different things.
When we don't know if good is going to happen from our actions, I have a story of good. I delivered a baby in the driveway of a house. As the baby's being delivered, the first thing I noticed is it's pitch blue. I mean, the baby's blue as blue can be, which tells me that the baby's not getting any oxygen. As I could finally see the baby's cord is wrapped around the baby's neck. It's not an easy procedure to roll that cord off of the baby because you can't just cut it. If you cut it while the baby's still in the womb and it's still pulsating, the mom could bleed to death and the baby can bleed to death. I'm able to remove the cord from the baby's neck and the baby starts breathing. Baby is healthy and everything is good. Approximately 1 year ago, while sitting in police briefing, a story comes up. One of our officers' nickname is Blue. Blue, how did you get your nickname Blue? And he said, well, when I was born, my cord was wrapped around my neck. The person who delivered me saved my life. And I'm like, how old are you? And he gives me his age. And I'm like, okay, the math is just too close. You don't live on this street, do you? And he's like, yeah, that's where my parents live. I was the one who delivered him, and now he's a police officer working alongside me. When I kind of reflect back on my career, that is a story that leaves me with a great smile. That one is really up there.